Welcome back. Now, a documentary following the road to the marriage equality referendum debuted on Netflix last week.
Entitled The 34th, it captures the journey of Minister Katherine Zappone and Louise Gilligan's pivotal legal case and the historic yes vote, which took place on May 22nd, 2015. Have a look at this.
We made a decision to take a case against the state in order to say now was the time that we should be able to publicly marry. In the process of that, Louise and I had the opportunity to marry in Vancouver. Every other couple that would go off to Canada to get married would come back to Ireland and get recognized by the Registrar General or the Revenue Commissioner, and they just signed the papers and everything would be fine. But when we looked for our recognition, the state said no.
We are married. We're married in Canada legally, and it is an infringement on our human rights terms that this marriage is not recognized here in this state. No other couple that have married outside the state and have returned here with such a request have been so denied.
Oh, Minister Katherine Zappone, good morning.
I said I wasn't going to cry.
Yeah, you did. But
I did reassure you that I've cried several times on this show, and they do have tissues at the ready, we promise.
Wasn't she gorgeous, though?
Gorgeous.
It's such an emotional story, isn't it?
And it's difficult. It's important.
It's important, yes. Of course
And
it is.
it's an incredible journey.
Yes.
But it can't be easy now looking at it.
No, it's not. But, you know, so one of the great things about the 34th is that it shows, I think, the two aspects of what we did is the love story. It effectively, the 34th is bookended by the love story of myself and Louise. But it also then lays out the full journey of the campaign trail. And one of the reasons that Linda Cullen of COCO put it together is because we wanted to offer it as a campaign tool for other countries throughout the world in terms of how to move towards such a change.
And so many will follow it, yes.
And at the nub of the story is, as you so eloquently put it in that clip, is that you were legally married.
Yes.
But when you came back to Ireland, it wasn't recognised here.
It was
and
not.
That's the nub of the story.
Correct.
Every other married couple who'd done it, who'd gone to Canada, got married,
That's right. They come back and
you're married here.
Wonderful, absolutely.
But you weren't here.
But you know, Simon, the other thing is that it was an integral aspect of our legal strategy as well. Having decided to take a case against the Irish state to ask, you know, just to say that we wanted to get married, them saying no. Well, then getting married in another country actually put a different kind of spin on how to bring the thing through the courts. It just seemed to be, why couldn't, you know, any other couple, as you say, could get recognized, so that was what we were
Was it a difficult decision, Minister, to come to take a case? Because for anyone who takes any case, there has to be a level of consideration around costs, but also the emotional toll that it takes.
It was a huge decision, and, you know, I mean, and Louise would have said this, that you know, she wouldn't have decided to do that. I was the driver behind it, and I think some of it has to do with the fact that being originally American, I'm not as afraid of, you know, putting ourselves out there. So it was a big deal. You put your whole intimate love story into the public realm, but at the same time, you know, we really believed that if anybody had the privilege or the resources in order to do that, it could be us. And we were also aware of the fact that, I mean, again, as in the documentary, one of our wonderful friends, Ross Golden-Bannon, who was on the Marriage Equality Board, talks about, you know, when we came out, that you know, they're just kind of this average middle-class professional couple. And so that image to portray that we're just like you. And that was going to be integral to the kind of strategy to move towards the freedom.
But did you feel the weight of, because you weren't just telling your story, you were telling stories that affected hundreds and thousands of people and couples in the country, and they had no voice? I mean, I'd imagine the journey was involved with such big steps. Even the fact that the government announced we'll have a referendum about it.
Yes, absolutely.
That was a victory in itself.
It was a huge thing. And one of the most wonderful things about the last year, though, of getting the win was, for both Louise and I, was going out canvassing in Dublin Southwest, where we were leading the team there, my constituency, with young people. Who were gay or lesbian themselves or transgender, but also their parents and their grandparents. I will never forget going to the door with the grandparent, the grandfather, you know, and a grandfather wanting to, you know, put up the posters. I mean, I did some posters about, you know, vote yes for marriage equality because they so wanted their family to be recognized.
Of course.
Yeah.
And how did it make you feel at the time for the marriage not to be recognised? I mean, you know, we've heard gay people say before that they were angry, they were disgusted, they were disappointed. How did it make you feel emotionally? Because just a total disregard, wasn't it?
Yes. How did it make me feel exactly? It was awful.
It drove you. It drove you, obviously, to do something about it.
It was awful, but I tell you what really hit me personally was that morning I woke up and saw the front page of the Irish Times, and it said that the cabinet had decided to fight us in court.
Right.
That they were they were going to go with the Attorney General's recommendation, and no, we're not going to recognize their marriage. And I was, I just felt like the whole weight of the country was on us, but ultimately it gave us more determination. And it's not
drives
always
you
easy.
harder,
Like
doesn't
you're
it?
kind of you get a little deflated,
It
and
involves an incredible amount of drive, though.
It does.
To constantly get knockbacks like that, and such a big knockback, because it's on the front of the national newspapers.
It was a huge knockback,
To get up and say,
Simon.
no, come on,
Yeah.
keep going.
And one of the things, and again, this is what the documentary shows, I suppose, is that it took over a decade to get marriage equality, beginning effectively with our case. But even in taking the case, we knew that it wasn't just going to be a legal case that would do it. We'd have to kind of raise public awareness, and invited friends and colleagues, and that's the story then, who took the leadership then. And I was saying to Grania Healy there just a couple days ago, I drove past Denshaw House, which is one of the many rooms or settings where we had located our marriage equality organization. And I just said, oh, just memories. And she said, yeah, thousands of meetings and strategies and hours and to get it, exactly. So even though we had the case, but we were also integral and to all the work in terms of the CAL case support group, which then led into the Marriage Equality Organization, which then led into Yes Equality with the referendum.
Take us to the day of the referendum.
Oh, my
May
God.
22nd, because you say, you're on record as saying that you cried when you voted.
I cried.
I mean, what was that day like?
The voting,
walking to the polls.
voting.
Yeah.
Well, again, it's on the documentary where Anne-Louise comes out after we voted and how proud she is and how this is for the people and it's up to the people to decide and all of that. So it was unbelievably emotional.
And there were such powerful scenes from all over the country, wasn't there? We had Vincent Browne and the George.
Absolutely.
Which was kind of an iconic moment wasn't it?
It was. And he actually had invited us to go over there. And I wanted to get there, but we just couldn't get through the crowds from Dublin Castle.
It was incredible, wasn't it?
It was amazing. But again, the importance of the documentary now is because I think it would demonstrate and offered as a good campaign tool, because we can never take for granted these the win of such rights. And certainly what's going on, for example, Northern Ireland, they don't have marriage equality. What's going on in Tanzania at the moment, and actually some of the other Eastern European countries, people aren't as lesbian and gay people aren't as free as we are, and so this is a campaign tool that we offer to.
Well, before we let you go, Minister, we were talking before you arrived about, will we talk about Brexit? Will we talk about childcare allowances? Actually, what's important is on today, the day we're talking about this documentary and how important it is how are you?
Well, today I feel pretty good, I have to say. Of course, it's a lonely journey.
Yeah, it is.
But my job is so meaningful, and Anne-Louise's spirit is right here.
And some days are harder than others. And that's just.
Harder than others.
But you're on a promotional trail for something that is, it doesn't get any closer to your heart, does it?
It doesn't.
And you have to look at the footage over and over again, which is almost cruel.
Well, as you say, Minister, it's a story that we have to
time.
jump up and down about and shout about, because it's a good story.
Yes, no, it's a good story, and we are leading the world in relation to this issue. So.
Yeah, we are.
Well, it's been a pleasure meeting you.
A pleasure, Simon.
Thank you
and
for
Anna.
coming
Thank
in.
You bet.
Well done,
Don't forget,
Minister.
you can watch the documentary, the 34th, now on Netflix.com.